guys, what is up? So today's video is going to be pretty exciting because today I am doing a old sketchbook tour video. I knew that I really wanted to do a sketchbook tour video on this channel, and I asked you guys on my Instagram whether you wanted to see a old sketchbook tour first or a new one, basically the one I'm using currently right now, and you guys said that you really wanted to see the old one first, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I've pretty much been drawing regularly in sketchbooks since 5th grade, and so that's almost 7 years ago, which is kind of crazy to think of. So I have a lot of sketchbooks that I really want to show you guys, so I was thinking that maybe I could make this a series where every few weeks or something I can show you guys a old sketchbook of mine. It probably wouldn't be in order, but if you guys would still like to see that, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. So probably be eventually doing a sketchbook tour for the sketchbook I'm using right now, so let me know if you would like to see that as well. Anyway, let's get on to the sketchbook itself. So this sketchbook is a Crescent Render Pro sketchbook. I got this sketchbook I believe about 2 years ago when I was first trying out the brand. I use this brand of sketchbook a lot now, however I use a different style of it. The one I use is spiral bound and it's a little bigger because the one thing I did not like about this sketchbook was that it was way too tiny. I like to draw a little bigger, or I like to at least have a decent amount of space to draw, and this was just way too tiny for me. But I really like the one I am using now because the paper is so good in the sketchbook. Here is an example of the one I use now. It's basically the same brand. Like I said, this one's just a different shape. And the reason these sketchbooks are so good is because I like to draw with markers, that's kind of my main medium, and you can draw on both sides of the paper and not have anything showing on the back of the page. So it allows you to save paper and make your sketchbooks look nicer, and I just really like it. So I started this sketchbook when I was in 10th grade, so that would be almost 2 years ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. So this was started on November 6th, 2016, and I ended it on February 24th, 2017. I think what's really crazy about this sketchbook is that I remember I was really proud of a lot of the art in here, and now I kind of look back on it and I'm like, all this art is so bad. What was I thinking? And I used to show this sketchbook to people too. Also, I'd like to make a really quick note that I am gonna show a lot of the sketchbook, but there might be a few drawings that I don't feel comfortable showing. So if there's any weird kind of cuts or anything, that's probably why. But I have a lot to show, so let's just get into the sketchbook already. So here is the first page of my sketchbook. I feel like it very much sums up the style of art I was doing at this time. You can see it in the noses and the eyes and the mouth and just kind of the whole face in general. It's very kind of off looking. I don't know how to really describe it, but that was very much my old style. I was starting to learn how to draw noses around this time, so that's why you'll see kind of the noses looking a little weird. But like I mentioned though, I do an introduction page on every sketchbook I do, so I do draw kind of my character like this still, but the difference is obviously the style I draw her in is a lot different. But yeah, so this is kind of an introduction page, and on the bottom I have my email on there, but it's a kind of personal email, so that's why I have it covered. Here is the first real drawing of the sketchbook. This is the Punisher. I drew this after watching Daredevil. It's a really good show. I definitely recommend watching it if you haven't already. I'm really behind on the rest of the Netflix shows. I haven't even seen the Punisher show yet, which I really want to watch because Punisher is definitely probably my favorite part of season 2 of Daredevil, so I really need to catch up. I remember having a really hard time drawing this, and I was going to be doing an all black background, and eventually I kind of just didn't do it, and I colored it with crayons. Yeah, that's why it looks really weird. So yeah, here's a drawing I did of Michonne from The Walking Dead. I was really into Walking Dead around this time. I had binge watched the whole series on Netflix, and season 7 was also, I believe, coming coming out around this time, so I was pretty hyped. So I loved Michonne, so I tried drawing her, and I also wanted to kind of try drawing like an actiony pose, so I drew her holding her katana. Here's a drawing I remember being really proud of at the time, and this is a drawing of Seth Rollins, who's probably my favorite wrestler. I drew him with his old two-toned hair, and I remember in this sketchbook I was trying out a new pen I got, so I remember being really excited to test that out. Here's one of the only drawings I think actually still looks good in this sketchbook, but that's only because it doesn't really have a face, and that is a drawing of Spider-Man I did. This was inspired by that scene in Civil War where he takes like Captain America's shield, so I drew that, and I just remember really liking this one, and I still think it's pretty okay. Obviously I think the anatomy is a little weird, but it's not probably like the best thing in the sketchbook. Here's a old kind of original character design I drew. I really wanted to do something very fantasy inspired, so I drew kind of this girl in like this really pretty dress with like a big crown and sword. I think I really need to start drawing stuff like this again because I don't draw it as much, so I really need to get back into that. And here is a drawing of Brie Bella, because as you'll see in this sketchbook, I was a really big wrestling fan around this time. I still am, but I haven't drawn as much wrestling art lately, but I used to be a really big wrestling fan. So this is a drawing of Brie that I did, so expect like a lot more wrestling art that you'll see in this sketchbook along with the Seth Rollins one I just showed earlier. Here's an original drawing that I did back in the sketchbook, and I remember really not liking this drawing when I did this, but I think this is one of the more decent ones in this sketchbook for it being like old. I really like the concept of it, so I think I would be kind of interested in maybe doing like a draw this again challenge. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know, because there are like parts I think that are like kind of a little like off. Like the face, obviously my style has improved a lot, but I feel like things such as the wings and stuff I really like, and I'd like to do something like that again. That was a lot of likes, but let me know what you would think. And then here's kind of a little drawing I tried to do of Roman Reigns. I feel so bad because I feel like this doesn't look like him at all, and man, my style's improved a lot, I'm just gonna say that. So these two drawings kind of go together, and they have a pretty interesting story. So the story is I used to follow this Walking Dead art account, and every week they would choose a character and they would post fan art inspired by that one character. So that week it happened to be Negan, and Negan's probably like my favorite character on the show, so I really wanted to do some Negan art. So this was the first version I drew. I have this like paper over it because it would like rub off onto the other drawing, because I used like color pencil or crayon. I can't even tell, to be honest. It was that long ago, but I really wanted to try drawing Negan, and this was my first result, and I really hated how it looked. It was really, really bad, and I just was not proud of it. I was struggling a lot to draw it, but I posted it anyway to my Instagram, and then I was like, you know what, I don't like this drawing, so I'm gonna change it. And so I ended up doing this second version that obviously still isn't the best, but I liked it a lot better, and I ended up posting this. But what happened is that the account actually saw this drawing and they reposted it to their Instagram, and obviously I was like kind of like because I was not proud of this drawing at all. And I later found out that this drawing actually made it onto like one of those flop accounts where they post like really bad artwork. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. Here was this kind of like cute original character design thing I drew with flowers. Here was just a drawing I did of Wonder Woman. I kind of wanted to go for the more like classic Wonder Woman look, not like the movie look, and yeah, that you can see how that turned out. Here's a drawing of Becky Lynch that I did, and I remember being so proud of this drawing. This was like one of my favorite drawings I had ever done during that time, and I just think it's kind of interesting to like look back and see like how much you've improved, because like I said, this used to be what I thought was one of my best drawings, and now I've improved a lot since then, so I think it's kind of fun to like look back at that. There were some pencil sketches that I did that I didn't really want to like color, so I just inked them and I put like paper paper over it so it wouldn't smudge. But I remember really liking some of the designs. I remember really liking this one, and I think later in this sketchbook I actually kind of did like a full drawing based on this, but I remember I liked the sketch a lot better. And another thing about this is I always thought this one kind of looked a lot like Christine from Simply Nailogical, so let me know if you see it. Here's another Walking Dead drawing I did. This one was of Carl, and here is a drawing I did of Dean Ambrose because he's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I remember I did this for his birthday, I believe. Here was a drawing I did of Spider-Man like with his mask off, and I was like, I'm gonna try to draw Spider-Man with like no mask and it like just Tom Holland, and I really don't know. I feel bad. This does not look like Tom Holland at all. I'm really sorry if this looks nothing like him. Oh my gosh. Around this time on Instagram, I was following a lot of 21 Pilot fan artists, and they would always do these really cool drawings inspired by their songs, and I wanted to try to do one, so I did We Don't Believe What's on TV. And I remember only really liking this top part of it. I like hated how this bottom part turned out, so when I posted it on Instagram, I literally only posted like this part. And here we just have a little R2-D2 drawing I did. Here's a drawing I did of Ember Moon, and I remember being really proud of this drawing and I really liked it, and she reposted it on her Instagram, which I thought was so cool. The only thing about this drawing is that my markers were so streaky. Like, I don't know what was up with them, but I do think the overall basis of the drawing was like pretty okay for what I was doing at the time. And then here's a little Christmas tree Groot I did something like this a while ago, like before the sketchbook, and I wanted to redraw it, so I redrew it. I kind of want to redraw it again, so let me know if you'd like to see that when eventually Christmas and the holidays come up. Here we have a drawing of Glenn, and here we have some Alexa Bliss. Again, I remember really liking this drawing at the time, and I just think it's really like interesting to see like what you used to be proud of and just see how like kind of far you come. Obviously my art isn't like the best right now, but I mean I think it's a lot better than like what I was doing here. So here is a drawing I did of Roman Reigns. I remember I got some Prismacolor Colorase pencils for Christmas, and I remember sketching him in this, and I remember being so proud of this drawing at the time. And I mean, I will say that this is a lot better than that other drawing I did earlier in the sketchbook, so I will give it that. This drawing is really special to me. Obviously the drawing itself isn't the best, but more like the meaning behind it is. I did this drawing after Carrie Fisher had passed away, and I was like really sad, and everybody was doing like drawings dedicated to her, and I really wanted to do something that was like dedicated kind of to her, so I drew this, and I remember being really proud of it at the time. And I mean, it isn't the best drawing, but like just kind of I feel like the meaning behind it and like why I drew it in the first place is really special to me, so I feel like this drawing is always going to have like a special place in my heart. Here was some miraculous ladybug I drew. I kind of wanted to try drawing more of like a full body action pose thing. And here was a drawing of Brian Kendrick that I did that somebody on my Instagram requested. It's not the best, obviously, but I tried. Here was a Scarlet Witch drawing I did, and oh my gosh, this looks nothing like her. Oh my gosh, these drawings, I swear. It's so interesting to like look back at them. Here was a drawing I did of Captain Phasma. This was my first drawing of 2017, as you can see by my caption there, and I will say it's pretty okay, but I think anything that I don't draw like faces for turns out okay, so that's up for debate. These were some figure drawings that I did, and I really need to start doing more figure drawings because I feel like I struggle a lot with drawing kind of like full bodies and stuff, and obviously these were not good, but I feel like just the fact that I was trying to practice a little more made me feel a lot better, so I think I really need to start like doing this again. Here was when I tried to draw Lucas from Stranger Things, and I remember the actor who plays him, Caleb, liked this on Instagram, so that was really cool, but I feel like I need to do a better drawing because I feel like he deserves something better. Here was a drawing I did of the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. I remember kind of struggling a lot with the hands, so that was something. Again, here's me trying to be creative and doing kind of like this OC kind of fantasy style girl. I don't really know what I was going for, to be honest. It's kind of just a thing I made. Here's a drawing I did of Alec from Shadowhunters. This is when I started watching the show for the first time because I had read the books in the past and I just never got around to watching the show. So I started watching it and I fell in love. I'm kind of behind on it right now. I really need to like catch up. But Alec and Magnus were my favorite characters, so I drew Alec, and I remember being so proud of this. I thought this looked so much like him, and I thought I did a great job. But now I kind of look back, and I'm like, yeah, Kelly, this looked nothing like him. What were you thinking during this time? But I mean, again, it's improvement. You improve over the years. Here was a drawing I did of Dolph Ziggler. I remember having a lot of fun doing this because of like all the metallic-y stuff in it, and I also remember I screwed up on the face a little, so I had to like cover it with colored pencil. And then here was a drawing I did of Batgirl for an art trade. Here was a drawing I did of Nia Jax, and I remember being actually really liking this drawing, like being kind of proud of it. I really liked how I did the body and how I drew her attire and stuff, because her attire was like kind of fun to draw. Like it was very like elaborate. I really liked drawing elaborate attires at this time, as you'll kind of see. But yeah, this was okay for what I was doing at the time. This is when the Meet the Artist tag was going around, so I wanted to do that. So that was my attempt at drawing myself. It was a very good attempt. As you can see, it was not. It's really bad. But this info is pretty accurate still, so if you would like to get to know me, you can read that. Here's a drawing I did when I first started watching Voltron. I believe I drew this after watching the first season, and then the second season I think came out like 2 or 3 days later, and I remember Shiro being my favorite character from the start, so I had to draw him, and I was kind of trying to replicate the show style, which the eyes are a lot more kind of similar to the style I do now. They're not exact, obviously. Drawing I did of Lauren Cohen because I wanted to draw Lauren Cohen. This is a drawing that I think is pretty interesting to look back on because I was so proud of this drawing. This was a drawing that I did the day before my birthday, and I just remember being really proud of it. I put so much work into it. I added like a ton of details to her attire. This is what I mean by like I liked to draw really this is what I meant by when I say I like to draw really like elaborate attires and outfits and stuff. But obviously the face is like kind of off, like it doesn't really look like her, but I just remember being so proud of this. And again, it's like really interesting to go back and see how I improved. I actually did a drawing of her like a month or 2 ago, and it's just so interesting to see how far I've come. Here was a drawing I did of one of my favorite YouTubers, Graveyard Girl. I drew her with the little alligator and its wings on the top. I thought it was so cute, and she liked it on Instagram, which made me like really excited. Again, another drawing of Seth Rollins, and again I drew him with the two-toned hair because that was like my favorite thing to draw him with. Here was a drawing I did of Noam Dar that he actually reposted to his Instagram, and a lot of people liked it, which I thought was really cool. I remember really liking this drawing, and I remember being really proud of the jacket, and that's actually how I started to do kind of more galaxy stuff, and now I do like galaxies a lot in my drawing, so this is where that originated from. Here is just me trying to draw some little Deadpool heads at the time. I was trying to kind of shade his nose area, but it looks a little weird. And then here's a drawing I did of Naomi when she won the women's title, and I was really happy because I love her, so I drew this to celebrate. And then here's a drawing I did of Bailey when she won the Raw Women's title. I believe these drawings were done like a month or 2 after the UK championship tournament, and I believe I just gotten around to watching this, so I drew some of the competitors. So this was Tyler Bate. Here was Pete Dunne. And then finally, here was Trent 7, so you put them together and you have British strong style. Here was a drawing that I started and just never ended up finishing of this girl. And then I believe this is the final drawing in the sketchbook. This was a drawing I did of Jughead because Riverdale had come out like a month or two before, and I was watching the show from like when it first aired, and I remember really liking it and wanting to do some Riverdale fan art, so finally got around to drawing Jughead. Yeah, that is it for the sketchbook. I didn't fill up this completely because I think I eventually got kind of sick of not having that much space to draw in, so eventually I moved on to a spiral bound version of this book, but I do still really like this brand of sketchbook because of the paper. As you saw, I drew on two sides a lot with markers and Copics, and it never really bled through or anything. That is the end of this sketchbook tour. I just want to say that I feel like I've improved a lot in my art. I'm not saying that my current art is that good or anything like that. I'm probably gonna look back on my current art in a few months and be like, how could I have drawn that? That is so ugly. But I just think it's really interesting to see how people used to draw and just see how they've kind of improved. Again, if you would like to see this be made into a series, I have a ridiculous amount of old sketchbooks to share, so let me know if you would be interested in seeing more. And again, let me know if you also want to see that current sketchbook tour, because I'm pretty much finishing up the sketchbook I'm using now. I'm going to be starting the new one that I showed at the beginning of this video soon. So if you'd like to see a sketchbook tour for a newer sketchbook, see kind of like my new art, let me know what you think. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a like or a comment or even subscribe. But even then, just thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!